The summer is almost upon us, and I love to do a little bit of armchair traveling during this season. So come along with me. I'm going to share some books that feel like a summer holiday. Hello book friends, I'm Jen and welcome back to my reading life and welcome to the first in a series of summer reading videos that I have planned for you. And I am, as you can see, looking very summery today. I have my sun hat on, I have my iced tea at hand, and we are going to talk today about some books that feel like a vacation. So a summer holiday, we're going to do a little armchair traveling. We're going to head around the world and see where we land. And I think all of these books would be perfect to pack with you on a vacation or just to pick up and read if you want to do a little escape while you're still at home. So grab yourself a cuppa or something cold and iced, depending on where you are in the world right now, and let us get into these summer holiday reads. I'm going to start us off today in one of my very favorite places to armchair travel to, and that is England. First off, we are going to head back into a bit of a modern classic, and this is a light and funny story about three men, a dog, and a boat, and that is Three Men in a Boat by Jerome K. Jerome. To say nothing of the dog, which is the subtitle. And this is really what it says in the title. This is about three men who rent a boat to travel down the River Thames in England on their holiday. And it really is just all about what they get up to while they are on their travels. This was first published in 1889, and while it is a Victorian novel, it feels so refreshing. If you like writers like P.G. Wodehouse, definitely give Three Men in a Boat a read. I don't think you'll be disappointed. It is very funny. They get into all kinds of mishaps and misadventures on their travels, and it is very, very fun. And I think it makes for a great read if you want to head off to England and travel down the Thames. And speaking of traveling down the Thames, I have another book which features some women doing pretty much the same thing that the men in Three Men in a Boat are doing. And this is a much more modern novel, and it's got a different tone to it than Three Men in a Boat, most definitely. But that is The Narrowboat Summer by Anne Youngson. I mean, just look at that cover. Doesn't it just feel like summertime, as it says on the cover here? In this, we follow Sally, Eve, and Anastasia. Anastasia owns a narrowboat, and Sally and Eve take it upon themselves to move the boat through the canals on the Thames. And they do this because Anastasia needs to have an operation and cannot move her boat, which needs to be moved. And so we follow along with the three of them and what happens. Mostly Sally and Eve while they're on the boat, but we do go back and forth and we meet Anastasia and follow along with her a little bit as well. I will say this is a quiet book, so if you want something that's just a bit like floating down a river, it's not super action-packed. There is definitely some things that happen, and yet it is just sort of a lovely look at women on their own and opposites coming together to do something and figuring out how to work together and live together and help each other. And I very much enjoyed this. And I think if you're looking for something a little bit on the quieter side this summer, then The Narrowboat Summer is definitely the book for you. Next up, we are going to head to the coast of England, and we are going to take a little family vacation. And we are going to follow along with the Stevens family for a fortnight in September by R.C. Sheriff. And this is such a lovely read. When I first read this, I felt a little trepidatious as I was reading it. Like I thought something bad was going to happen. Nothing bad happens, I promise you. This is just a lovely story of the Stevens family. The children in the family are sort of on the cusp of adulthood, so this is probably their last true vacation as a family, and so we are following along with just what they do while they are having their fortnight in September. Now, if you are really interested in reading this, we are actually reading this in August for the Cozy Reader Book Club. I think it makes a great summertime read, even though it's set in September, because it is set at the beach on the coast of England, and it's very much got a summertime holiday feel to it. But if you are not able to join us for the Cozy Reader Book Club, this would make a fantastic read anytime this summer or even into September. Or if it's not summer where you are and you just need a little escape from the cold weather, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, then this would be a lovely book to escape into. Next up, I have a book that is pure adventure. It is fast-paced, it is fun, it is engaging, and it is all about the rescue of a cow. And that book is Appointment with Venus by Gerard Tickle. This book is set in 1940 during World War II, and it is set on a fictional Channel Island. So while the Channel Islands are real, this particular island called Armchair is not. It is fictional. So we have this island which has been occupied by the Germans, and there is a pedigreed Guernsey cow named Venus on this island, and she needs rescue. So the War Office in England takes it upon themselves to sort of map out a plan to rescue Venus. I'm just going to read you really briefly what it says here on the back. It says, "And so this intrepid adventure begins, combining romantic young love and patriotic heroism with submarine missions, enemy action, wartime tragedy, and cow napping." I was so pleasingly surprised by this book. I absolutely adored it when I read it. And I have to thank Miranda Mills for talking about this book in one of her videos a couple of years ago, because it was just such a joy to read. If you want something that is really propulsive, really fun, will just have you completely engaged in it. It is like the cow napping version of a James Bond book. That's the best way I can describe it. Loved it. And if you want to head to a fictional Channel Island this summer, then I definitely recommend Appointment with Venus. And our last stop in England is going to take us to the Lake District. And I have a middle grade book, which is so much fun. It is pure nostalgia. It will take you back to your childhood, to days gone by, to simpler times. And we read this last year for the Cozy Reader Book Club, and I think everybody loved it. And that is Swallows and Amazons by Arthur Ransom. And this is about two groups of kids, and they meet up while they are both staying with their families in the Lake District, and they both have boats. There is an island that they are sort of squabbling over as to who has rights and a claim to this little island, and they kind of get up to all kinds of adventures. So if you want to kind of reminisce about your childhood and what that was like, this is such a perfect book to do that with, and I can't recommend it enough. I need to move on with this series because there are quite a few books in the Swallows and Amazons series, and I had so much fun with this, and I can't wait to read more, but I highly, highly recommend this one. It is pure nostalgia. Next up, we are going to leave England, head across the Atlantic Ocean, and settle in the northeastern part of the United States. And for this next two books, actually, this is a duology, we are keeping with that summertime childhood nostalgia. And I think these books perfectly capture that feeling the same way that Swallows and Amazons does. And those two books are Gone Away Lake and Return to Gone Away by Elizabeth Enright. And these two books, this little duology, is just perfect summertime reading. Gone Away Lake is, of course, the first book in the duology, so definitely read this one first. You are going to follow Portia and Foster and their cousin Julian, and they discover a lost lake. This is a lake that has dried up, and there is sort of a town near this lake, or on this lake, that is mostly abandoned, but they meet some older residents that are still there, and they make lots of fun discoveries. They have lots of childhood adventures and a little bit of danger. But you know everything is going to turn out all right in the end. And then Gone Away Lake takes place the following summer. And Portia and Foster and their family are moving to Gone Away, and you get to see them settle in and set up house in their new home. And it's lovely and domestic, but it's still got this wonderful childhood nostalgia feel to it. So I definitely recommend reading both of these. They are wonderful. And again, another pair of books that will make you feeling nostalgic for childhoods gone by. We are zigzagging all over the globe because now we are going to head back across the Atlantic again, and this time we're going to find ourselves in France. And first up, I have a nonfiction graphic memoir that is just so lovely, so charming. If you want to visit Paris, this is one of my favorite books to do that in, and that is French Milk by Lucy Knisley. And this is the story of Lucy and her mom, and they head off on a 6-week trip to Paris. And while this is not set during the summertime, it just still has that wonderful armchair travel quality to it. And Lucy Knisley's drawings are just so delightful. Here's an example of one. And I really think if you love Paris or anything French, then French Milk is definitely a book to seek out. I highly, highly recommend it, especially if you love memoirs, if you like graphic novels. Even if you don't like graphic novels, I just think this one has just kind of a sweetness to it. And the mother-daughter relationship in this is really lovely, and I just can't recommend it enough. It is a quick read and perfect for summer armchair travel to France. We're going to stay in Paris for this next book, and this is a book that I actually just mentioned in my British Women Writers that I'm discovering video that went up last week. I will link that here for you if you would like to check it out. But this book starts in England but is mostly set in Paris, and that is The Corner Shop by Elizabeth Cadell. And in this we're following Lucille. She runs an employment agency for women, and she is having difficulties with one of her clients where she keeps sending girls to him and they keep leaving before a single day is even out. And so she decides that on her way to Paris, where she is supposed to be going to relieve her aunt who owns a shop there, so her aunt can take a vacation and Lucille will run the shop. Not much of a vacation for Lucille, but she's going to stop by, see this client, and figure out what's going on. She does. We meet him, and there are some missing paintings and an art expert involved, and we follow Lucille and this client of hers who is a professor, and we just see what happens to them. But this was such a fun read, and definitely the book that made me an Elizabeth Cadell fan, and I can't wait to read more by her. But this one, if you want to take another trip to Paris, I definitely recommend The Corner Shop. And our next book is actually going to take us to the south of France. And this is actually a relatively new book. I read it earlier this year and I absolutely loved it. And that is Mrs. Endicott's Splendid Adventure by Rhys Bowen. And this is set right before World War II. Mrs. Endicott has been what she thought was happily married, and then she finds out her husband has been having an affair and he wants a divorce. So she decides that she is just going to leave. She is going to leave him the house. She is going to take off with the woman who actually cleans their house, who also has some difficulties in her life. And then another woman from Mrs. Endicott, Ellie Endicott's village, also is going to come along with them, and they take Ellie's husband's Bentley and they head off to the south of France, and you follow along with what happens to them. And this book does take us into World War II, so there are a couple of kind of tense, dramatic moments where, you know, the Nazis are coming to this small town. They end up in the south of France, and so there is kind of that element to it, but I could not put this one down. I actually listened to the audiobook, which I highly recommend. I will link both the physical book and the audiobook down in the description box below. I think you can't go wrong with either of them. I mean, look at this cover. I kind of want to just take a holiday into the cover of this book. But it was It was so wonderful, and it ends on such a lovely note, and I definitely think if you like Reese Bowen's writing, if you've read other things by her and you haven't yet read this one, definitely put it on your summer pile of possibilities because it's wonderful. Actually, it's splendid. Next up, we are going to head off to the Canary Islands. So these next couple of books are going to take us on some island adventures. And this first one is The Wind Off the Small Isles by Mary Stewart. There's also a second short story in my edition here called The Lost One, and I think both of them make for excellent summertime reading. But The Wind Off the Small Isles follows Perdita West, and her employer has sent her off to Lanzarote. She is there to do some research, I believe. Yeah, she's on a research trip. So while Perdita is on this trip, she goes snorkeling, and then there is a landslide and she gets trapped inside an underwater cave. And as the tide is coming in, the water is rising in the cave. And if she can't get out, she's going to drown. And this is a bit of a tense one. I will say that. I think this is one of the most intense Mary Stewart's that I have read, but it is very short. It is such an easy read. I could not turn the pages fast enough. I had to make sure everything was going to be okay with Perdita, and I just thought this was fantastic. I think it makes a wonderful summertime read. As I said, I mean, again, look at the cover of this. Don't you just want to escape into that? So if you want something, again, if you like that sort of very propulsive kind of story like Appointment with Venus, then definitely give this one a read as well. I think this one will really get your adrenaline pumping, and I think it makes for a fantastic page-turning summertime read. Now we're going to head off to another set of islands, and this location is one of my very favorite places to not only armchair travel to, but actually physically travel to as well, and that is the Hawaiian Islands. And the book I am recommending that will take you there is Molokai by Ellen Brennert. Now, this is about the leper colony that was set up on Molokai, and this story takes us back to 1891, and we follow our main character, Rachel, who is sent to Molokai as a very young child, and she is separated from her family and everyone she knows and is sent off to this leper colony because she's diagnosed with leprosy. And we follow Rachel over the course of her life and what happens to her and how she sort of creates a found family on Molokai and all of the people who live there, who work there. It sounds like it would be a really hard book to read, but it is just so lovely. And I loved Rachel as a character. She has so much spirit and gumption, and she's just wonderful. And I love Ellen Brenner's writing. If you enjoy Molokai, then you should also read his other books set in the Hawaiian Islands. He has the sequel to Molokai, which is Daughter of Molokai, and then he also has Honolulu. I recommend them all. They are fabulous, but this one is definitely my favorite. And if you want to escape to the Hawaiian Islands, then this is the book to do it with. Our second to last stop is actually going to take us to one of the largest countries in the world, and that is India. And I am recommending Olivia in India by O. Douglas. I just recently read this book. It is an epistolary novel. It was O. Douglas's first book that she wrote. It is highly autobiographical. And in this, we are following Olivia, and she is off on a trip from England to India to visit one of her brothers. And the book is entirely written in letters from Olivia to an unnamed male friend of hers. And so she's describing first the boat ride to India and the trains and everything and all the travel they have to do and how challenging that is, and then her arrival in India and the time spent there with her brother, and then they travel around a little bit. It is just such a wonderful book to kind of travel along with Olivia as she goes on this adventure and see what happens to her completely through her eyes. It does have some dated references to it because it is set during the British Raj in India, so please keep that in mind. This is not a modern novel. I've forgotten the publication date. I will put that here on the screen for you. But again, just keep that in mind that you're going to hear a certain viewpoint when you're reading this book. But other than that, I just thought this was such a delightful read, and I love O. Douglas's writing, and you can see in this first book of hers that she is going to go on to write wonderful stories, and I can't wait to read more by her. And my final recommendation for a book that feels like a holiday is actually a nonfiction account of this writer's adventures to this particular country. And he is a well-known travel writer, and I absolutely love his books. And it was very hard to pick which one I wanted to share here, but I really enjoyed this one, and it is one of my favorites by him. And that is taking us to Australia. And the book is In a Sunburned Country by Bill Bryson. I love Bill Bryson. I think he is so funny, and he is so good at writing travel memoirs. And this one, as I said, takes us to Australia, and we follow along with Bill on his adventures. I'm just going to read you a little bit from what it says on the back. It says, despite the fact that Australia harbors more things that can kill you in extremely nasty ways than anywhere else, including sharks, crocodiles, snakes, even riptides and deserts, Bill Bryson adores the place, and he takes his readers on a rollicking ride far beyond the beaten tourist path. Wherever he goes, he finds Australians who are cheerful, extroverted, and unfailingly obliging, and these beaming products of a land with clean, safe cities, cold beer, and constant sunshine fill the pages of this wonderful book. And I can't say more than that. I absolutely loved this when I read it. It's been quite a few years now. I am long overdue for a reread of this one, but it's very fun. And if you've never been down under, I don't know, my Aussie friends, is that the right thing to say, or do you guys not like that? Tell me in the comments, please, and I won't say it again if you don't. But I would love to visit Australia and New Zealand someday, so if you've never been there and you want to see what it's like, you can go along with Bill Bryson. This book is just a lot of fun. And that will wrap up my books that feel like a summer holiday video. I hope you enjoyed coming along and having a little armchair travel preview with me. Let's chat down in the comments. Are you interested in reading any of these books that I mentioned today? Are you going to do a little armchair traveling this summertime? Or if you're in the Southern Hemisphere this winter time, you want to take yourself elsewhere if it's cold and dreary, because sometimes we want to do that as well. Let us chat all things summer, holiday, escapist, armchair travel reading. And I'd also love it if you would share some of your favorite books to armchair travel with in the summertime. And if you're here but you don't have anything you'd like to add in the comments, but you'd like to let me know that you were here, comments really do help my channel. Well, let's leave all the travel emoji. Airplanes, trains, cars, buses, suitcases. Let's share all the travel emojis in the comments below. I love seeing them and knowing you were here. And if you enjoyed this video, if you could hit that like button and also the hype button on the YouTube mobile app. And if you're new here and you haven't yet done so, I would love it if you would subscribe and stick around. There's going to be lots more summer reading videos coming out the rest of this month, so be sure you don't miss that. Subscribe, turn on your notifications, all that good stuff. And thank you all for being here, taking time out of your day to spend it with me, and for all of your lovely comments. I read them all, and I really do appreciate them so very much. As always, I will be back with another video very soon. And until then, I wish you a good book and well, maybe an iced cuppa? It's not really a cuppa, is it? I wish you a good book and something cold and refreshing, or a warm cuppa, depending on where you are. Bye. Underwater, but it's... Hi, Ivy. It's not food time yet, okay? You're gonna rub on my books? That's very helpful. Why don't you get down? Can you get down? Come get down. Get down. Yeah, get down. There you go. Goodness gracious. Catus interruptus.